Hello, my name is Sydney Adamski. We're here today to discuss one very important issue, bullying. A few weeks ago, a survey was sent out to analyze the impact bullying has had at our school. In the weeks following, Stugo has analyzed and looked through the results and came up with solutions we feel will help to reduce and prevent this abuse. We ask that all questions and comments be held to the end of the meeting. There is a total of 693 students in the Indiana Junior High School. 445 students took the survey, and over 50% of those students said that they have been bullied. We can presume that almost 25% of the student body has been bullied at some point in their life. This number is unacceptable, and we need to do something to change this.
Mr. O'Neill, can you go to that? There we go.
Hello, my name is Clara Wickner, and I'm a Stuco representative. According to the survey, there's about 228 people in the Indiana Junior High who've been bullied. So far in the 2022 to 2023 school year, we have experienced one quarter. That means in the past 45 days, at least 91 of those kids were bullied. Most kids, when they enter a new school, are trying to figure out how everything works. So I have a prediction that in the next 3 quarters, this number of kids being bullied will rise.
Good afternoon. My name is Lane Wolf, and I'm the Student Council Vice President. I will be presenting on behalf of Zainab, who's unfortunately not able to be here. One question that we asked in our survey was, were you bullied over the summer? We got 228 responses. Of those who responded, 18.4% got bullied in person over the summer, 16.2% have been cyberbullied, and 71.1% were not bullied over the summer. Another question we asked is, were you bullied last school year? For this question, we also had 228 responses, and 62.7% unfortunately were bullied last school year. However, fortunately, 37.3% did not experience bullying last school year. Thank you for listening.
Out of the 228 kids, 193 people have seen someone being bullied in our school. Whether it's on the bus, in the hallways, or outside of school, kids could experience being bullied and we don't even know it. Sometimes we walk past kids joking or just playing around, and we don't even realize that they could be bullying others in that way.
Hello, my name is Linda Magolis. I am a Stuco representative. There was 221 students that answered this question on the Google form. They said that they have been bullied in different ways. This question asked, how have you been bullied? The most frequent response is verbal abuse. That includes calling people names, slurs, and even sometimes racial comments. The second most common is physical abuse. Some people get tripped, punched, shoved, and kicked. Cyberbullying is the third most frequent type of bullying. Cyberbullying includes posting something mean about someone and making mean comments about someone.
Hello, I'm Lauren Mann, and I'm the Stuco treasurer. There were 225 responses to this question. 53.8% have been bullied consistently. This shows that people have been bullied over and over again without speaking up or putting it to a stop.
Hello, my name is Ashley Majernik. I'm a student council representative. Out of 215 responses, 65.1% of kids said they have been or seen bullying in the hallways, 55.8% in a school classroom, 53% said outside of school, 23.3% said at a school-sponsored activity, such as a football game or a school dance. 34.9% said cyberbullying, and many people mentioned advice.
Good job, guys. Thank you. So, just as a follow-up to that, Mr. O'Neill, if you want to go to the next slide. We met with the entire Stuco organization, along with us and our counselors, to talk about like what steps could we take to try to help out our school community. So in talking to the students, we found out one of the biggest issues was a lot of people don't think we do anything about bullying. But the fact of the matter is we do quite a lot, and we have an extensive process that we follow in regards to that. Sharing that with the students, the progression of how we deal with these certain situations, and of course, every situation we look at it on an individual basis, kind of opened their eyes to that. And they thought that sharing that information with our school community would be a good idea. So we came up with this action plan of how we can, educate our students, educate our parents, educate our community by what we're doing. So we have various PBIS lessons, some of which our students right here and the rest of Stuco have actually developed and shared, and will continue to do those. We have our assembly. We talked about, just getting out there, talking about what bullying really is, as opposed to like a single incident, and how we can address it and how we address it, and why isn't there any follow-up. We talked about the confidentiality behind that. We don't share anything about discipline in regards to other students. So I think just making people aware so they know, it is being addressed. We take this seriously. Communication with parents. We have some resources that we want to start pushing out. How to recognize your child might be involved in bullying, things like that. Increase staff presence in the hall. This is something we try to do, but something, again, that the students brought up, and I think it's something valid that we do need to push our staff to make sure we're out in the halls so we can intervene if something happens. Collaboration with Indiana County PA Inclusion Board directors. I met with Representative Misty Naco recently. She came in, and we're actually meeting with her in a couple weeks here at the end of November just to talk a little more about what we're doing. And I think this is important too, because if you look at that data, how much of that bullying was taking place over the summer, and that's something we pointed out as a group when we met. And we're not in school, so we need the community to be involved in being on board with this, and we need to support the community, and the community needs to support us in overcoming this. Sixth grade and new student buddy system. Stuco is working on developing that for our incoming sixth graders and any new students to the district. And then a follow-up survey. We want to continue to follow up with the student body. Stuco wants to continue to follow up with the student body about, are we seeing any improvement in these areas, just to, continue to address the problem and see where we're at. So I applaud you guys, the students we have here and the rest of our Stuco organization. Like I said, they take on the initiatives we throw at them and just take it to the next level. So thank you so much, guys. We appreciate it. You guys have any questions for our students?
My only comment,
Thank
sorry.
you.
Oh, go ahead, Dr. Vick,
No,
please.
I was just going to say thank you for doing that and for taking the initiative to find out what your students are saying, what your peers are saying. And I think it's great that you helped to develop the action plan. So thank you. And please do keep us informed. We want to hear about the follow-up surveys and the different things that are being done.
Along with that, could you send us a copy of the data things? Because
Yes.
it was really tiny.
Yes, it is on the agenda. It's hyperlinked on the agenda, but I
Okay,
can
good.
also email it to you if you'd like that as well.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Absolutely.
I was surprised to see some little, on one of those wee tiny things, some little bullying happening on the buses. It was a
Yeah.
very small number, which I thought is a prime location for bullying.
Well,
Somehow we managed to get ahead of that.
I think our surveillance system with the buses helps out a lot with that, having the audio and everything, because we can really put a stop to that when we have situations that arise.
You mentioned community being involved. I saw Louisiana has dads on duty. That the parents are coming in and helping with that interface, and as a way to get more community involvement.
Absolutely.
So I thank you.
more like parents.
Thanks for coming in. There's a spot for Stuco report every month. I invite you to come back, or send all of you, or just one of you, or suckers, send her. But if you come back and tell us what's going on and what we can do to help. Okay, the board really wants you to be successful. So please let us know what we can do, what you see, where your successes are, and if there's something the board can do, don't hesitate to ask. Okay, if we can't do it, we can't do it. But for goodness sake, you have an inside track on how to stop this sickness, and we want it stopped. Okay. We have enough troubles without kids picking on kids.
I was really surprised that the social media was the third largest bullying thing. I would have thought that would have been higher up because of how anonymous it gets in by 3. So I think it's kudos to them that it's not number one. What do you think is the biggest social platform that parents and teachers should be keeping an eye on? Because I know it's not Facebook anymore. I know it's not Twitter. So,
Snapchat is a really big platform.
okay.
Snapchat's a really big platform that I know a lot of students use. And then I think the ones that TikTok is another big one.
Mhm.
And I think Instagram, it's not as big as it used to be, but I do think students still use it. And I do think that's something that could be kept an eye on.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Harley, on behalf of the board, I just want to say thank you. It's easy to come here and just say, hey, things are wrong, but where you deserve a lot of credit is you're not only saying things are wrong, but you're working to improve it. And you deserve a lot of credit for that. Number two, I think it's most important to reiterate to empower your student voice. We have four or five, six seniors on a committee we're working with part of the National Council on Economics and Education. It's mind-blowing to hear the things they're saying, how we can improve our system. So my point is we need to start listening to you and listen earlier. So I reiterated Mr. Harley's comment about anytime you want to come be a part of these conversations, please do. And then lastly, Mr. Bowers and Dr. Minnick, it'd be neat at the next meeting, you can come back and look at that data since you have. So you have a snapshot where these things are occurring and then how PBS is used to reinforce those positive behaviors in those hot zones or those areas where you see the most trouble. Because just sitting back and admiring the problems, not getting it done. So I applaud you as an administration, the teachers, and most importantly, students for taking this quite seriously. And for the public here, you may ask yourself, wow, why are they opening themselves to this? Because these are the type of conversations we should have. If there's something broken in our school, or we're not getting something right, then we need to hear from the students and we need to work collectively to fix that. So again, I applaud you because at such a young age, it's a very powerful voice and you are being heard. And I'm glad you're working towards solving issues and working with Dr. Minnick and Mr. Bauer. So on behalf of the board, I do applaud you. I appreciate you. I really do.
And if I could add another thing, be the squeaky wheel. Just annoy us, please. So that way it doesn't get forgotten or set aside.
Annoyed Tammy.
I have nothing to do at home. Don't bother him.
And the one thing I will offer out there, and think about, you don't have to rush to it, talk to your advisor, talk to your administration. If you ever want me to come over and have lunch with you, I do it at the high school once a month. It's a really neat way to hear from the kids about what's working, what's not working. If you'd like to have like a smaller student advisory council at the junior high, I'd be glad to do that. But Dr. Minnick and Mr. Bowers, you work with the students on that, talk to the advisor, whatever you could do to help hear you and work with you, I'd be glad to do that.
Thanks, Mr. Lynch. That sounds great.
And he gets a lunch out of
We do get a lunch, right?
Amazing. There you go.
Now, we're going to be here for another hour or two. You're welcome to stay, but you also can go home.
It's a school.
It might get a wee bit boring.
No, it won't. It's
I said it might. I've never let it get boring, but it might.
Good to see you too.
Oh, really? Oh, I will. Thank you. That's definitely for sure. Oh. They sold it in big size.
Yeah, whole section lunch, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having us. Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
So, Mike, how can we get rid of everybody else?
Yeah.
I think it's just you say, if you stand up and say, well, we're done, then everybody else goes.
Next on the list, we are going to go out of completely the wrong order once again.
Mike has never run this. But we do try to accommodate you folks that are showing up. So,
I'm going to turn it back over to Mr. Bowers and Dr. Minnick. We have Ms. Tracy Pecora here. She helped lead the Project Adam Heart Safe program throughout the district, and they're here to recognize her and talk about the program. And Dr. Minnick, Mr. Bowers, I'll turn it over to you.
which one? Hold on.
Right above the other one.
Okay, number one.
Yeah, on non-agenda.
Number
Yes.
one. Okay, Mike always started with non-agenda. Make sure we get them in.
Well, I just want to introduce Tracy before. She's been amazing. She has spearheaded the Project Adam program at the junior high school, and she expanded. I'll let her explain how she expanded it. But just to give us the credential, it's called Heart Safe School now. Is that correct? Heart Safe School, which is preparing all staff for the event of a cardiac arrest and how to respond to that. So it's a pleasure to introduce Tracy. She's been such a strong addition to our school district and junior high. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Minnick. I just want to say I'm so proud of Indiana Junior High and Eisenhower for accomplishing this certification. This wouldn't have been possible without the support of administration and teachers and staff. Thank you for helping keep our students and staff safe and healthy. I would like to introduce Lindsay Flanagan. She is the program coordinator for the Youth Heart Watch at CHOP, which is Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. They're an affiliate of Project Adam. Project Adam was created in 1999 after a 17-year-old high school student died of cardiac arrest during a basketball game. The national group is dedicated to preventing sudden cardiac death by helping place AEDs, which are automatic external defibrillators, in public places where youth learn and play and create a response plan around these AEDs. Lindsay works with schools, athletics, and community groups to help them take steps to be prepared to respond to a cardiac arrest. We've been working together since spring of 2022 to help the junior high and Eisenhower implement action items, keep all students, staff, and families safe on campus. And the rest of the district's schools are working on this process in the hopes that our entire district will be obtain the certification. So I can turn it over to Lindsay. Hi, Lindsay.
Hi, thank you, Tracy. I'm not sure if you can see me, but thank you so much for inviting me to present today your Heart Safe School designation. I would love to have been in person, but I am quite a bit of ways over in Philadelphia. Our medical director, Dr. Victoria Vetter, couldn't make it today either, but she is excited to announce 2 more Heart Safe schools and celebrate even more staff members who are trained and prepared to respond to an emergency. So for those of you who don't know, sudden cardiac arrest is when the heart suddenly and unexpectedly stops beating and loses electrical function. The victim will collapse and lose consciousness. They may be gasping for breath. They might have seizure-like shaking activity. And if CPR and an AED are not used, the victim can die within just a few minutes. And every minute of delay in helping that person decreases their chance of survival by 10%. Sudden cardiac arrest affects about 380,000 people each year, and that's about 23,000 cases are in children under the age of 18. It's also the leading cause of death on school campuses, and 1 in 70 high schools will experience a cardiac arrest each year. So I've been working with Mrs. Tracy Pecora since last spring, as she mentioned, to build the junior high and Eisenhower Elementary's emergency response plans to ensure that building staff are prepared to jump into action and save a life. Tracy's been working with both the junior high and Ike staff to implement this Heart Safe School program. And through the program, both schools have held CPR and AED training for their staff, all staff sudden cardiac arrest awareness trainings. They've developed and implemented cardiac emergency response plans, and they've even run drills to give their staff realistic practice as if it were a real code heart, where they could test out these plans and also test out their staff CPR skills. Their staff have expressed positive feedback in participating in the teams and the trainings and the drills, and they've said that they feel more comfortable in responding to a real emergency inside or even outside of a school setting. So Tracy's been working, Tracy's work at the junior high and at Ike have kicked off the program at the other Indiana area schools, and the other schools are well on their way to also being designated as a Heart Safe School soon. The Youth Heart Watch at CHOP is confident that Tracy schools now know how to respond to a cardiac arrest and are prepared to save a life. So I'm excited to be here today, albeit virtually, to present the Indiana area junior high and the Eisenhower Elementary with a banner to acknowledge their hard work and preparedness. So we only have the banner for the junior high today, but I want to congratulate both schools on their well-deserved designation and extend a huge thank you to Tracy and the staff for their dedication to implementing the program across 2 school levels in her building. So now we'll be excited to continue working with the rest of the district and honor their designations soon.
Thank you, Lindsay. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can. I can't see Tracy, so I'm not sure if she has the banner open.
Yeah, we want to see.
Oh,
Nice.
there you go. Great job.
And you're welcome to display that anywhere on your school campuses that you would like to show all the families and the staff your big accomplishment and everything you've done to keep not only the students safe, but the staff and any parents and family that come through your doors.
Thanks, Lindsay.
Lindsay, over a decade ago, I was a softball coach. We had to take the heart certifications, but there wasn't any support. So here I am, a softball coach, and I'm certified, but there was no backup in the school. There wasn't a defibrillator. There wasn't instruction. There wasn't somebody else that knew what they were doing, and I felt like I'd been dropped out of a plane without a parachute on that particular thing, and it is a real problem. Okay, and it's not a real problem until it's your problem. But the PIAA put it on the back of the coaches for the whole place, and boy, it was scary. So having something like this with more than one person that knows what's going on and having some support, that's phenomenal. That's phenomenal. So I congratulate you and everybody else who's going to get this certification. I expect to see this banner in every building by the end of the year.
They're working on it.
That's the end of 2022.
Tracy, I'll defer to you.
That's our goal by the end of 2022, and I think all the buildings have their drills set, and then they'll work with Lindsay to obtain certification.
Yeah, the training I got on that PIAA website was not, all it did was scare the heck out of me. So please make sure the coaches get involved and we know what's going on. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Congratulations, Mr. Bowers and Dr. Minnick. We're still going to go out of order. We're going to jump to number 9 on agenda items. I'm going to introduce Mr. McElhaney. He has some guests here that I don't want to take too much more of their time up, but they're interested. They're representing a sailing club. They're interested in organizing a field trip to Annapolis, I believe in April. So I'd like to defer to Mr. McElhaney so he can introduce our guest. And I do apologize for making you guys wait as well. So Mr. McElhaney.
Thank you, Mr. Vukovic. It is an honor and a privilege to be here this evening to introduce 2 esteemed club advisors. As Mr. Vukovic said, they're here this evening to talk about, thank you, to gain approval for an out-of-state sailing trip in support of the sailing club. And if I could, if we had a Friend of Education award, I would give it to Mr. Nathaniel Arthurs, because although he is a humble person, he is extremely hard worker in providing our students exceptional experiences, not only in sailing club, which is one of the club days, with Senor Murphy, who is also the faculty co-advisor, but he also works with Mr. Pushkar and provides our students the aviation club. And Mr. Arthurs does this as a former alum, I say distinguished alum. He does it simply because he said, hey, Wade, I want to give back to the school community. I want to provide opportunities for students. I have a passion in sailing and aviation, and I want to share that with students. You think we can do that? Senor Murphy stepped up and said, yes, I'll do the sailing club. With Mr. Arthurs as the expert, and Mr. Pushkar stepped up and said, hey, I'll do the aviation club. Mr. Arthurs, again, has put together incredible field trips for these students. You probably saw recently the front page of the Gazette, Mr. Arthurs and the Sailing Club put on an educational seminar about sailing, brought a sailboat to the senior high school and located in the Lower Commons.
Outside, for the record.
I don't know if we'll be able to do the same with a plane, but we'll give it a shot. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to our friend in education, Mr. Arthurs, and faculty advisor, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you. Thank you very much to all present. This is my second year working as the faculty advisor, but
once again, I think all of the credit, acknowledgement should go to Mr. Arthurs in being the inspiration, the know-how, and inspiring students to be curious, to continue to figure out the physics of sailing, in the case of aviation, but also a lot of the hands-on. He brings along with him 2 other advisors from our community, Ms. Beth Reddick and also Mrs. Mary Angelo, who have helped out quite a bit. And the reason why we're here tonight is, was said before, we're proposing to you a field trip that Mr. Arthurs and I and the adults that I mentioned would volunteer, would go to Annapolis, Maryland on Thursday, April 27th, 2022. So I think that it's probably most appropriate for Mr. Arthurs to talk about his vision, since he's done pretty much all the organization. I'm there in support. So I'll turn the mic to Mr. Nathaniel Arthurs. Thank you.
I want to thank everybody for allowing me to come tonight, and thank you, Mr. McElhaney, Mr. Murphy, and Mr. Pushkar. And we had Mrs. Grove was here earlier, and her daughter was actually one of our students with the sailing club, and she had to go on to diving, so she wasn't able to participate in this. But again, thank you. What we're trying to do is offer things that just aren't out there, and good old fashioned fun. I don't want to say that, but when I was a kid, I was a newspaper boy. I was the kid that would cut grass, and when it was a snow day, we'd grab our snow shovels. Now you go around town, I haven't seen a kid push a mower. I see adults deliver a newspaper. It just seems weird to me. So I could sit there and complain, or I could try to make a difference. And that's why we are doing this. Okay. So I'm a part of Friends of Yellow Creek with Dr. Sherwood, and I help out with the IEP students. And that's how this branched off to the high school. And thank you again, Mr. McElhaney, for putting up with me. So our vision with this is to try to, that time of the year, it's real delicate because May is testing and prom and everything like that. And then June, end of school year. So we're trying to take it to the last very day that we have of clubs to do something exciting with the kids. That's a great learning experience for them as well. And that's why we're choosing that date of the 27th. Last year, we went to Erie, went to the U.S. Coast Guard Station, to a sail maker, and to the Maritime Museum. We're trying to clock it up. The weather was pretty cold up there, so we couldn't get the kids out on a big sailboat. But down in Annapolis, it's more springtime down there, and that's why we're looking in that direction. Going into tour of the U.S. Naval Academy is exciting, as well as the Annapolis Maritime Museum. So that's what we're hoping with your cooperation. It'll be a nominal fee for the kids. Whatever you need from me to make it successful for the district, you have me at 200% support, whatever it is. All will take parents. There's some student parents that want to come. Background checks, or child abuse checks, whatever you need from us. Let us know. We'll make it happen, whatever you need from us, okay? So I just appreciate your time. I know you got a lot on the agenda, but that's all I had to say. If anybody had any questions, please let me know.
Mr. Harley, in the past, we supported this trip. I fully support it again. Mr. McElhaney can work with you as far as getting the proper clearances. We will need those on hand, but I appreciate you doing this. I really do, sir.
How many kids are involved?
We have 6 students right now.
Yeah, we have 6 members at IHS.
6 right now. Last year, if you watched on Facebook, we had our first student actually. She had her certification. Bernadette.
Batun Chang.
There you go. She's up in, she's carrying on up in Ithaca, New York at Cornell University right now. So she's actually part of the sailing group up there now. So, so we looked at if we could touch one kid's life. So we did that. Our goal now, we're going to try to get 2 this year. I'm serious. If the whole community just does something positive, if the newspaper would just say, hey, let's just report positive news for 30 days and see how that can catch on. That's all we're trying to do.
I can attest that Annapolis is rich, and a day is not enough time in Annapolis.
I know, but I was coming in with baby steps.
I understand. It's just amazing the amount of sailing there. You have the U.S. Constitution of Baltimore. Just down, so I mean, it's amazing the amount of sailing that's there and how wonderful it's. So very good.
Yeah,
excited to hear that. Yes, support it, put it on the agenda.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, next on the list. Now we'll start with number one on agenda items. I have a special guest here, Dr. Shields from the IU. She always yells at me for calling her that. That's what I got. So Dr. Shields and I got together and we wanted to address and look at some of the PACE data and see what we could do to respond accordingly to the PACE data. And what she has trained some of our staff as well, other staff, is an evidence-based program, and there's an option available for students. So we're here tonight to present about that, get the support from the board to move forward. It is a trainer-trainer model, but the one thing that we're most proud of between our collaboration, we're able to make this a county-wide initiative where 6 out of the 7 Indiana County schools will be participating in this to provide support for all the kids in Indiana County, and we're quite proud of that. I wrote a request and received the funding for it, and then once I received that funding for the request, I wanted to reach out to Dr. Shields to see how we can partner together between the IU and United Way to make this a reality. So we just want to give you an update about what the program is so you understand what the benefit and return on investment is to our students, to the community, and what an overview of the program looks like. Dr. Shields, if it's okay with you, you can just tell me to go through the slides, but I'll defer to you.
I knew you were gonna. I guess we could start with the video.
Yeah.
Let's
So
do that.
what we did was we found a video that highlights some of the seriousness.
But
and
now, suicide is the
scary is I
second
believe this is
leading cause of
2008
death among people aged 10
like
to
that. So my point
18.
is,
That's
it's only
according to the
become
Centers for
like since
Disease
then.
Control and Prevention. How to tackle this problem. The research points to schools. Special correspondent Lisa Stark of our partner Education Week visited a high school in Virginia to see if their approach of teaching mental health can work. It's part of our ongoing education series, Making the Grade.
Depression is a treatable illness. True or false?
This is the kind of lesson you don't often hear in a high school classroom.
Every single one of you matters. We care about every single one of you. So if you are not feeling great, or if you're concerned about a friend who might also not be feeling great, please come tell us.
The subject, preventing suicide, taught by school counselors at Freedom High in Chantilly, Virginia. This district, Loudoun County, is expanding prevention efforts. It has dealt with 10 suicides in the past 3 years.
We're going to go over some of the signs of depression. Just by a show of hands, can we throw out some ideas that maybe you can identify, some signs of depression that you've seen or recognized? Yeah.
Always feeling sad.
Always feeling sad.
We figured we have to be very public about this. We have to be upfront about it. We have to talk about mental wellness. And we have to talk about suicide. We can't hide behind anything.
Principal Douglas Fulton has made mental health education an essential part of the curriculum at this high-stress, high-performing public school outside Washington, D.C.
If we're not working on building our mental wellness for all of our students, we're missing a piece of education.
I have grown up with depression and anxiety.
Molly Cammerdiner is a recent graduate of Freedom High, now in college and doing well. It was a school guidance counselor who first realized Molly could be suicidal and told her mother, Kim. Molly was in 6th grade.
I was just shocked. She totally floored me. She said the reason Molly would be the one kid that you really have to watch is because she was very popular, great grades. Nothing pointed to issues with Molly, nothing stuck out, except she was always sad.
Therapy helped. Molly has never tried to hurt herself, but she says she hit rock bottom in 11th grade.
I wasn't doing my schoolwork, my grades were dropping, and I care a lot about my studies. So it was really difficult. And then more emotionally, I got hit pretty hard, and...
Are you okay?
Yes.
You don't have to continue if you don't want to.
No, but, I mean, it needs to be said. Sometimes you come across like everything's completely fine, and there are days where you just want to die, and you feel really, really bad, and no one can see it. And you're waiting for somebody to see it.
Molly's older sister did see it and went to a Freedom High School counselor.
And the counselors at school were the first people to hop on it and take care of me and screen me and make sure I was doing okay and give me options. And it felt like they cared. And so that was all I really needed at the time, was I needed to know that somebody cared.
when it comes to educating our youth, the important things to teach them are that mental health struggles are common to human experience. There should be no stigma or shame in that asking for help is a good, strong thing to do, not a sign of weakness.
Dr. Christine Moutier with the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention says even though schools don't have enough counselors and psychologists, many are trying to make mental health a priority.
They have.
And what I thought we'd do there for sake of time is just move on. Before I turn over to Dr. Shields, Dr. Rigg, if you're okay, and Ms. Josie, you've been in part of the meetings with NCE. And our students in those meetings, Mr. Harley, also expressed similar concerns, maybe not to the same magnitude or same degree, but you also hear about the stressors they're facing. So what we want to do is really provide support for the whole county. And this is exactly what we're doing, where I'm really appreciative, besides the efforts of everyone that I mentioned, is our friends in the county who want to take this on and make this a county-wide initiative to really provide supports for our kids. So you see a huge shift towards this board's vision of county-wide approach, a county-wide sense of team, and the IU United Way is a big part of that. So we are seeing things similar to what you saw in the video with our students, directly from their mouths. And Dr. Rigg and Ms. Josie, if you want to add to it, you can. But these are challenges our students are facing. And I think we have a responsibility to respond accordingly. Yes, ma'am.
There was a young lady who spoke the other day who talked about the need to identify and using students, training students to be able to be the conveyor to the guidance counselor, because at times the trust level with adults is difficult to have completed. And so therefore they think, and she was very articulate about that and talked about her own depression, which I thought was pretty amazing from such a young person to look at it and see the need to establish a hierarchy to get the problem solved.
And Mr. Harley, so you know, I meet with the Student High Leadership Club once a month for lunch, and they took this on as one of their, I don't want to say subcategories, but one of their subcommittees. And I think it's important for us, if we're going to allow them to do that, to give them the right tools to go and do that work. Just to go on your own and try to do this could be scary. It can be hard because it's a difficult conversation. And what this program can do, and I'll let Dr. Shields fill in the missing pieces, what it can do is help kids meet their outcome and their goal. The leadership group of wanting to help another in a systematic, evidence-based way. So we think it's important to consider. We're asking for your support. But Dr. Rigg, before I turn over to Dr. Shields, anything you want to add from that conversation? I don't mean to put you on the spot.
No, I heard the same thing from Josie, and how the students are more apt to go to each other than they are to come to a trusted adult. So I think it's important that they're trained.
Didn't we have a thing where we were talking about the kids talking to their peers and bringing it forward to the counselors, a tiered effect?
Yeah, as Mr. Vukovic was talking about, the leadership seminar students took the initiative and they started a green bandana identification where there'll be students who have a green bandana maybe tied to their backpack, letting other students know that that's somebody, a peer, that they can approach. And then that peer would take them to the guidance office.
And what this does will help them have those conversations and work for a job.
And give them more of the tools that they need in order to know what to say as opposed to what
Exactly, because
not to put their foot in their mouth.
Our emotions, rightfully so, should go to the student who's struggling. But imagine being a student hearing that, what to do and how to respond.
Right.
So we want to make sure if they're going to make this initiative, and they have been, that we give them the right tools and make sure they understand how to do it and do it in a proven manner.
How good has the green bandana been working out?
I don't have any data to share with you, but I do know that
Well,
I see a number of students.
Well, I would hope you really don't have that much data. You know, there's if you have a lot of data for me, I'm worried. So, sorry, I didn't mean to.
Dr. Shields?
Okay. We have some statistics up here. I know it's kind of small, but these statistics are from 2020, so it's a little bit more recent than the video. But 49.5% of adolescents ages 13 to 18 live with a mental disorder. 50% of mental illnesses begin at age 14. And then suicide is the second leading cause of death for youth ages 15 to 19. So that's why this initiative was brought on. It's a fairly new curriculum. It was started in 2020 and has just been coming about in Pennsylvania. Myself and Amanda Anderson are trainers for teen mental health first aid as well as youth mental health first aid at the IU. And Mike spoke with me with the other superintendents in Indiana County of branching out so that the school districts could also be trainers in-house with their students. And head to the next slide. So with the teen mental health first aid program, the students learn to identify, understand, and respond to the signs of mental health and substance use. And then we teach them skills to have those supportive conversations with their peers and then how to get help from that trusted adult. So those students are, they're the front line, like you mentioned. They're right there being the front line. So what teen mental health first aid does is we train an entire grade level so that it's not just the couple students with the green bandanas, it's an entire grade level. And then what we'd like to do each year is to add another grade level. So in the next 3 years, we'll have the entire high school trained and then training the 10th grade each year so that everyone is prepared for teen mental health first aid. Right now at Indiana, we have 39 faculty and staff trained in the district in youth mental health first aid. And that's one of the requirements is that the staff, 10% of the staff are trained in youth mental health first aid, which is a program that trains adults, teachers, to know the signs and symptoms of mental health and substance abuse, and so that they can figure out how to help that student and get them to the right person to kind of be that front line before the guidance counselors, your teachers, and your staff. The program requires you to have 10% in a district or in a school building trained before you can train your students. And Indiana High School has 22% trained. So they have met that quota. So we'll be ready to roll out the train the trainer of teen mental health first aid and then begin training the 10th grade students as the grade level we decided to start with.
And Dr. Shields, if I could just jump in real quick. When we're speaking about data, I don't know if you remember several months ago, we did look at our PACE data. And we found it to be alarming with the number of kids who had suicide ideation, attempted suicide. So this is a response to that data. So we're not just sitting back and admiring the problem. We're trying to empower kids to help one another. So I just want to make sure you understand the why behind it. So I apologize, Dr. Shields.
No, we interrupt anytime.
How soon could we implement if we're at 22% of?
Well, we have a meeting tomorrow.
Okay.
At 1 o'clock, I think, right?
Yes, at 1 o'clock with
So we
the
come by
6.
2.
Yeah.
Yes. We have a schedule. We'll show you at the end, I think, right?
Yes, yeah, we have a plan.
Well, I
laid
wasn't
out
expecting
for
it
that.
tomorrow morning at 9. I'm just, well, actually I was, but I knew that wasn't realistic. But, yeah.
Since we're doing the 6 districts together, we're meeting with them to pick a date, and we'll be bringing in trainers to train 16 of the staff from the 6 school districts to be trainers within each of those buildings. So we're hoping to do that in like January, February is the goal right now. But coordinating those schedules is what we're doing tomorrow afternoon.
Wonderful.
So the benefits of this is empowering the students, giving a happy, healthy environment. It also helps with bullying and mental health. So a lot of the presentations today kind of just intertwine together, which is nice.
If it helps, that was by design, Dr.
Yeah.
All right, just saying.
Well done, Mike.
Thank you. Thank you.
It was perfect.
He can put together one heck of a committee
He
meeting.
can, right? He just cleaned it all up. So how this looks after we get the trainers by district, and so Indiana's going to have 4 trainers within their building, which will help us to train. They have a larger population than the other districts, so having 4 trainers to tackle that 10th grade class. And then Marion Center and Homer Center are our next largest, so they're going to have 3 trainers per district, and then Portage Line, Penns Manor, and United will have 2 per district. Penns Manor is the other district that has their staff trained and ready to roll out as soon as we go. And then, like I said, myself and Amanda Anderson are also trainers to assist with covering all of the students each year. But what happens in these sessions is there's 6 45-minute sessions for the students, and it's where they're taught to look for those signs, what's the right questions to ask their peers, how to listen non-judgmentally, and then how to be that helpful friend to take them to that trusted adult. So that's why that 10% requirement is there. So the teens know here are the staff within the building that are trained in youth mental health first aid as that trusted adult to go to next for the next steps for help. So these are the average number of students that will be trained on a yearly basis in each of the districts by grade level. And like I said, we're starting with 10th grade. to roll out in each of the districts.
Yes, and Mr. Harley, next month or the month after, the reason why we need some time to get things up and running, we'll have to make a curriculum change. So Mr. Heinrich will need time to work with Mr. McElhaney and find out where it best fits. I'm assuming it'd be health class, but that's the discussion. They have to occur and see where it fits.
Mhm.
So I didn't want to make any changes though till you approve this first. That's why we're coming forward tonight. No pressure. We did get the money already. So hopefully you'll approve it. But maybe I
We're
should
pretty
keep.
excited about that.
It's a lot easier to do if we have the money.
That's right, we got the money.
Who, in the press release I provided the board, Tammy Calderon deserves all the credit.
Mhm.
Yes, Dr. Shields and I worked on this. Yes, we developed a plan to make this happen, but if it wasn't for
That's the
her,
money.
this wouldn't have happened. And she was very, very helpful in this process. So I apologize, Dr. Shields.
No, you're okay. I don't mind a bit. So this just gives you like an outline of what the students will be able to do. So they're just recognizing those signs and symptoms, what the warnings are, and just really how to talk to their friends. And then this is the timeline that you were asking about, Tammy. So we're hoping to train the other districts to get to their 10% with the youth mental health first aid. That's part of our meeting tomorrow as well. Starting through November to January. Each of the schools needs about six staff or teachers trained, but they'll probably do more. And then in February is when we'd like to train the 16 teachers and staff of the selected. So the schools are going to pick who those trainers will be. And then March is when we'll start implementing with the current 10th graders.
So it gives us a couple months to get things ordered, in our house in order. We do need to talk to staff to make sure they understand this program and the reason behind it. We didn't do that yet, except for the ones who went through the program. We have some outreach to do with our families too, to make sure they're aware of this as well. And this buys us a couple times. So I'm almost, it sounds terrible. I'm kind of happy. We have, November through January, get some of those housekeeping things in order, because we want to make sure people are aware of what we're doing, but more importantly, the why behind it.
Didn't we just shorten the health requirement to like half of the credits that it was before? And make it so that they didn't have to spend as much time in health or what? And we're going to reverse that, huh?
Yeah, it's been an evolution of credits. We're currently, students need to have 2 credits of health and phys ed to graduate. The health curriculum is covered through grades 9 through 11. The senior year is more of regular phys ed class. It could be a fitness center, it could be yoga, but to incorporate current events in there so to still have some type of health education. So 2 credits are required. Students are required to take grades 9 through 11. In the 12th grade, it is by elective.
Okay.
Or 1.5 credits, I'm sorry.
May I suggest that we move the psychology over to the health thing? I know it's in civics right now, but I mean, it's mental health and all that. I would think that it would fall more under health than it would civics and such. But that's just my.
No, those are all things we can consider. Mr. Harlow, you have the floor if there's any questions from the audience or the committee for Dr. Shields or myself.
No, let's put it on the agenda.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Shields.
Thank you. Yeah.
We have a 4 member for
Are you Mr. Peterson?
Mr. Peterson.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
All right, I was just putting 2 and 2 together. Yeah, so,
number 10.
Yes, we'll let Mr. Heinrich go.
okay, so, yeah, I got a phone, I had a phone call with Mr. Peterson last week. He was asking for a status report on the esports, which we had talked about several months ago. We sent out a survey. I've attached to the online agenda, a survey. I don't know if you want to bring it up or if you want me to do it on the presentation.
Sure.
I did the HN throat chill theory.
And we've gone over some of this data before. I just wanted to bring it back to the board's attention because as I talked to Mr. Peterson, we kind of stalled on this issue. We never really took any action one way or the other. I know that we had some pretty good debate about, why or why not. On one side of the issue, this is another way to get students engaged in extracurricular activities. When there's a lot of research that says if they're engaged in extracurricular activities, they do better in school. Conversely, there's a lot of research out there that says more screen time for kids is bad, and that video games can be a negative influence in their lives for a number of reasons. So, some concerns from some parents where, look, I'm not sure our tax money should be spent, encouraging that. So, if you look at the data that we're going to up here real quick.
Hey, Randy, can you pull up on your end? For some reason, I'm not able to.
And I'll go through it briefly.
You want me to pull up the survey data for the esports?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
The response to the first question is overwhelmingly yes, positive. Most of the people who responded, 75% of those that responded, said that they felt that the addition of an esports program in some form would be a positive addition to the extracurricular activities here at in Indiana.
Sorry, Rob, maybe you said this and I missed it, but who did you survey?
We sent this to all parents.
Parents, okay.
High school only, though.
High school, yeah, high school.
I think it was only high school.
High school parents, okay. Thank you, sorry.
And I can tell you how many people responded here in 1 second.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure the students would have been very positive about it.
Yeah. I'm sorry?
Was that middle school and the senior high, 9 through 12, or was it 6 through 12?
No, it might have been.
Parents.
I think it was 6 through 12. I think it was junior and senior high. We had 89 responses from parents on this survey, which is, not tremendous, but it's not bad. Randy, you go to the next slide there. It said, would you, or if you are a student or your student, if you are a parent, be interested in participating in esports? Again, 77% said yes, they would be interested. So again, the overwhelming majority is in support of this initiative. Randy, the next slide, if you would, please. Then I have a series of responses linked to this. This is some of the qualitative data to go with the quantitative data. Randy, if you would click on that results there. Basically, the Google form allows for them to respond about why they support this. And a lot of the parents are saying, look, this is a way to get my son who's not, into athletics or into band into something in the after school program. This would be an excellent addition for, because there's career opportunities attached to it with some of the positive feedback. We actually got some recommendations for games from some of the kids that they wanted to play. You can read those at your leisure, but there were several responses as to why they thought that the addition would be good. Randy, if you go back to the presentation for the no esports, the responses from parents here are exactly what I kind of highlighted. Some parents are saying, look, my son would actually love to get involved, but I don't necessarily want him to get involved. We have some other parents that say, that we need to put our money toward more scholastic endeavors. They like the career explorations, but they don't think it's a good idea to encourage students to be on gaming systems that they're already on way too much. Proven that too much time online can lead to increased rates of depression, anxiety, et cetera. And there's some research that supports that. We basically come to the same crossroads we were before. And I just want some direction from the board, or from the committee at least, on how to move forward. The company that we initially had contact with does have a spring semester season that if we hustle, we might be able to be part of. If we're not ready to move forward and we still want to, go with the data, I just need to know that. I wanted to give Mr. Peterson a chance to speak because he was, kind enough to reach out and share some of his thoughts, and he said he'd be interested in coming to this meeting. So, if you
before that, can you remind us what the cost was on the machinery? This was not free.
No, that was not free. there's a financial equipment. I think most of the cost, and I don't have that number. I don't remember. I have to go back in the old minutes and find out. But there was a cost. I don't think it was prohibitively expensive.
I think it was 2,400. It seems to.
Well,
it seems to
there was a
be-
licensing fee. We didn't have the right machinery, so I thought we had to buy 12 graphic machines, and interneting. So I thought that there was a substantial cost on that.
Randy,
before we
can you
get
speak
set
to the
up.
cost? Because I don't want to embarrass myself by
I don't
speaking
remember.
about something I don't fully understand. But do you want to talk about the cost, Randy?
Well, yeah. I haven't looked it up lately. That we kind of looked at this over a year ago, I guess. But by now, but yes, so there will be each machine to do the gaming that you're talking about will probably be maybe between $1,200 and $1,500 a machine, at least.
And how many machines, Randy?
I think we were talking originally like 10 to 12. I thought.
Yeah, so that would make sense that that in my mind, we're looking at about 24,000 initial investment. And then the licensing fee was, I think, the $2,400. So it was, the licensing fee was nominal.
I do have, and I also have a gentleman who reached out to me who has experience as a coach, and I have not returned his email because I didn't know what direction we wanted to go here. But I have someone who's even interested in helping us guide us through these waters if the board were to go this route. And before Mr. Peterson speaks, I have an apology. I didn't know you're sitting there. I thought you were with Dr. Shields, so I apologize for making you sit there. I'm so sorry, sir.
Yeah, the licensing fee from Sidearm Sports is $2,800 annually. It's $2,800 fee. Sidearm Sports is their website. Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on.
But Mr. Peterson, please.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I was approached by a few community members that, asked if I had heard anything.
I'll get him.
I'm sorry.
Walking to the 21st century.
Get my
It's
steps
been a
in.
while since you've been here.
Yeah, sure. So I've been approached by a few community members, asking if I had heard anything about the esports initiative, because the survey went out in, I think, the spring semester. And I have a relative that works in the Johnstown school district. They have an esports program. They have, have had really good results from it, encouraging students that probably aren't engaged in the school district in other sports or other activities. It's a real encouragement to get them to be at school. It's an encouragement to, keep their grades up because that's all part of the requirements. Just looking, students are gaming, whether they're, doing it at home, if it's offered in school, gives them a chance to do that. It does build teamwork, builds technical skills, a lot of other skills that you don't have those opportunities to get at home. So, I think it's a valuable opportunity we could offer here, or at least pilot in the district. So I reached out to Mr. Heinrich, like he said, and I was, asking for a status because I hadn't heard anything. And he said, where we were, and just here tonight to see if I can help push it over the edge if possible, or anything I can do to help with the initiative.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Harlan?
Well, we have to overcome the startup costs and in order to entertain it at all.
Okay.
I do know that the YMCA was talking about starting something like this on physical plant.
Okay.
My question would be, is there any club or community support in a financial way that could get us, much like sailing club, that could get us over the edge and push us into doing this? Right now, 67 responses out of the 1,400 students isn't overwhelming. So my suspicion is it's a small group, and we've been pretty frugal with our support across the board. 24,000 plus the space to do it is quite a commitment. So my preference would be to see what kind of support the community wants to do for this, and see if we can get that net underway. I'm certainly not opposed to it. I would love to see drone races as part of this operation. That even seems to be more exciting than the three-dimensional drone races back mark or whatever. So, but that's not part of this particular process.
Would you like us then to maybe work with Mr. Peterson and maybe talk to the YMCA and see what they're doing in that area and come and report back? Or are we allowed to move
I
forward?
certainly don't want to open this a week after they open theirs. And the machines are going to sit there, so, if we can do something for all 7 school districts, if we're going to say, let's do it.
I don't think the machines are just gonna sit there. I think there's gonna be a line of kids to play.
Well, and that's true too.
Yeah.
It's, when you get a number of kids, and it doesn't have to be restricted to the high school.
Right.
It could be like a robotics program, but the robotics program, we allow it to start naturally, and we're expanding that as we see the success. So I would certainly advocate that we go down that path. We kind of got stymied with the initial cost. We're going to spend that money, and then we're giving $300 to basketball.
I'd recommend reaching out to GameStop or computer repair places, that, people that are working on IT to see if they want to help sponsor. I think they'd be more than happy to have kids that are wanting to do that stuff. So
It's $3,500 for the first season, and then $1,700 for every competition thereafter. So we would have 3 different sports with 3 times 17 would be the fees. I love it. So,
Would you like us to keep looking into it then, sir, and report
Yeah,
back?
I apologize for letting it drop, but we've had a lot of stuff on our plate.
No, I know, yeah. So-
Yeah,
And
if you want to jump back in, we're certainly welcome your presence.
And Mr. Peterson, are you okay if we work with you and follow up? Is that okay, sir?
Yeah, sure, thank you so much.
Maybe what we'll do is set up a luncheon where we can just meet with YMCA and see where they're at. So, because this will take us some time, but if they have something short-term that's ready to go, let us figure those details out. That's okay with the committee, sir?
Absolutely.
Are you okay with that, Mr. Peterson?
Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay. All right, thank you. Next on the agenda is number 2 is handle with care. We talked about this as a board previously. I just would like to revisit one more time and update you where I'm at to make sure that I have committee from the support moving forward with this. And if not, I just need to change gears, but I just want to spend some time really talking about where we're at. So a little bit of background. I'd like to show you a quick video that does an overview of what San Diego does with Handle with Care. And then we can go into a little bit more greater detail what it means for us here in the Indiana Area School District.
Handle with Care is a new program spearheaded by the District Attorney's Office. It uses an app to support young people who experience violence or trauma. When police come into contact with a child during a traumatic incident like domestic violence, a shooting, or an arrest of a family member, police use the app to alert the child's school that the child should be handled with care. No other details about the incident are given to the school.
When kids are exposed to trauma at home, they show up to school the next day without their homework. They are sometimes defiant, they're depressed, and it's the ability to make sure that the teachers, the counselors are aware that the child needs to be handled with care.
Kids are our future, without a doubt, and we need to handle them with care. And we need to make sure that we're focused on helping them through the challenges that life presents. And we all know that life can be extremely challenging. And so when they're traumatized, we want to make sure that people take that special attention to help them through those challenges without knowing any of the information about what they're specifically going through. Just be there.
Handle with Care has rolled out as a pilot program with the Chula Vista Police Department and the Chula Vista Elementary School District. The San Diego County Office of Education has provided training materials to schools on how to use a trauma-sensitive lens when dealing with students.
When a child experiences trauma, we have to really be in tune with understanding how they're feeling. A check-in, even if it's just to say, are you doing okay? Is there anything we can do to support you during this difficult time? That goes a long way. When kids feel loved, cared for in the school environments, then we can, assure them that they're going to be okay. When they feel safe, they're going to be better prepared to learn.
So I met with the district attorney's office as well as Indiana Borough Police and the head of CYS. All three agencies have committed to implementing this program if the committee is on board with it. I also meet with the superintendents in the county on Wednesday to see if we can make this a county-wide approach. As far as cost, we would have to sign an MOU with the San Diego District Attorney's Office
That's it.
to use their app. Yeah, San Diego.
Oh, okay,
Yep.
use their app.
To use their app at no charge for us. We just can't use it for monitoring purposes. And what I did when I did the original call, Mr. Harley, I had our attorney on the phone because what I worry about when these apps, we talk about these type of apps, is privacy. So I had our solicitor really talk and walk through that. He feels secure with it. So I would recommend we go with them. There are third-party vendors who make money off this and sell these type of apps. I would not suggest we do that at this point. I would suggest we go with the San Diego District Attorney's app. There is a FAQ I have at your place setting if you want to look at it. It goes a little bit more details about the benefit, but what I'd like to do is just go over it now. So it is a partnership, right, between the school district, law enforcement, in this case CYS, to ensure the emotional well-being of all students and make that top priority. In this case, the district, Indiana Borough Police Department, and DA's office and CYS would use this tool. If the other schools get involved, the district attorney has committed to go to their local police departments, those who have them, and try to roll this out as well. A variation of Handle with Care exists throughout the United States. I think 46 out of 50 states use it. It originated in West Virginia. But what we would do, pending this board's permission via the approval of the MOU, would be use the San Diego District Attorney's app. They would train myself and my team on how to use it. Then we would serve as the trainers for the county. We're not asking for extra money or anything. We just think this is the right thing to do. Because what a lot of things do happen is events occur outside of school, and our teachers or we are sometimes the last ones to hear about it. And I think you just go through the Indiana Gazette the last month and look at some of the trauma and some of the issues facing our community. So the more we're aware, I think the more we can respond. So that's the position we're taking. Again, it's really up to the board to decide, but let's talk about how the program works. To respect the child's privacy, all we would do is get an alert that says, handle the child with care. We would work with the various partners, and they'd have access to the app. And in that app, they would just they email the principal and the school which the child goes to, and just say, handle, Tom Harley with care. Once the alert is received by the school, then we can notify the teacher to put the teacher on notice to be aware. That way, because, in police, we have great teachers, but sometimes you can make misinterpretations, misconceptions that, Tom Harley's lazy or he's just not doing his work. If Josie would just do her work, this wouldn't be a problem. And we don't want to make those misconceptions when someone's hurting. And it's not an excuse. It's not a reason to, make things easy for a child. What it is to practice empathy, because people are hurting and people go through tough things, and sometimes the school does not know. And this would help us to do that. So the background about why is it needed, and look, these are facts that we pulled from San Diego's office as well as West Virginia. But you're looking at 60% of American children have been exposed to violence, crime, or abuse, according to the West Virginia Center for Children's Justice. Of that 60%, 4% were direct victims of 2 or more violent acts, and we're not immune to that, sir. We do have children who face trauma and who do have difficult challenges that it'd be nice to be put on alert so our teachers can respond. Now, with that said, our administrators or teachers or secretaries, especially the nurses, as you can tell tonight, they're always responsive, but sometimes they just don't know. So if we get this message, I think it can help streamline the empathy, streamline services that kids may need, but also make sure we put in perspective that maybe the kid just needs to lay down for a little bit because he didn't sleep because there's a fire in his house or something happened of that sort. It does help also identify kids who may need some additional help down the line, and allows our schools to better implement research-based practices in trauma-informed care. By law, we are required under Act 44 to inform and educate our staff on trauma-informed care. This can help go towards meeting that requirement. So I just want to put that on your radar. I'm asking for approval. If you were to say, Mike, go ahead and run, next steps would be to approve the MOU at a future meeting. The district attorney's office called me around 4:30. We spoke. San Diego. They're going to send me the MOU. We're going to look at it. There is a little bit of onus on Randy and I to, 1, be the trainers for the county and make sure they understand what we're doing, just like we're doing tonight. And then 2, help them set up their apps, but it's nominal at best. And I think it's worth the extra lift if it's going to help kids. So I'm okay with taking the extra work on it as long as the board's okay with that. I'll speak for Randy too. I think he'll be okay doing that work. I'll speak with the Indiana County Superintendents on Wednesday at our IU meeting. And then what we'll do from there is the District Attorney's Office will speak to the local police departments to gauge their interest and see if they want to use it. At this point, Indiana Borough Police Department would use it, and CYS has a much bigger net, so that's why I find some value with the Indiana County Schools getting on board, so they also can be notified. And again, you asked me 5 years ago to work together well with the county and the county schools, and I think this is another example of how we can do that, sir. So you have the FAQ. I'm willing to take any questions. I'll answer the best I can, but I'd like to move forward.
This is not the first time we've heard of this.
No, the first time when you heard it was just an idea.
Yeah.
Now, actually, we got some ownership and some buy-in from the other stakeholders. If you want us to move forward.
Yeah, I'm thrilled with it.
Oh, yeah.
And getting it up and operating and doing it on a countywide basis, it makes a lot of sense. These tragedies don't happen when inside political lines, and it's good that we're alert to a kid's problem before it turns into a real problem. So absolutely, bring the MOU. Let's make this happen.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
I just have one question. You're involving children and youth. Alice Paul House, a part of it?
We can always expand. I have not met with them.
I think it might be appropriate.
Reason I only met with CYS right now, Ms. Josie, is the question came up. The Indiana Borough Police Department has a small range, right? Just the borough. That means the state police. Like where this is going to be a hurdle is United, because I don't think United has a local police department. They only have the state police. So the reason why I included CYS is to eliminate that barrier until I can figure everything else out. But nothing precludes me from having that conversation. I don't know if this would work for them or not, but it doesn't preclude from the conversation occurring and educate one another on the benefits of it. But that's why I struck with CYS when I realized that the borough police will have a small capture area. I didn't want to limit it and limit myself, even though, hey, if it's only 20% of our students and we're getting notified about them 20, it's still better than zero. But the CYS is a larger catchment area, but nothing precludes those conversations from happening. I just don't want to go any further unless the board or committee supports us. We have to have that conversation next. Yes, sir. I don't know how that.
But if you do a broad brush for the county, you're going to pick up the state police and the local police and the two policemen at Homer and everybody else, CYS.
I hope the state police.
Alice Paul should be in that umbrella. I mean, all we're looking for is somebody to send us an email that little Susie needs special care.
Yeah, it wasn't too arduous or too cumbersome. When I saw it in action, it was really just, it's a drop-down screen. School, the grade, they put the student's name in, boom, it sends them an email. So it doesn't seem too cumbersome. I just have to talk to the state police and talk to everyone else and see where I can go. But at least at this point, I got two parties. I have a big capture area, at least to get us going. If the board's comfortable with it, sir.
I certainly, the sooner you get this in place, the better.
Okay, so I can move forward then?
Absolutely.
Please.
Okay. Next on the list, we talked.
Are all of these going to be like this today? I mean,
No more
You're getting
presentations.
I mean, this seems like mental health week.
Yeah, I have one more, and then we will turn it over to Mr. Heiner because he does have some staff who need to present about some curriculum upgrades, which is important. But the one I'll go over real quick is the I Love You Guys. So number 3 on the list. We talked about this before as well. The I Love You Guys Foundation was founded by parents, and I may be misconstruing the story, but I think it was the survivors, the families of they lost their child in a school shooting. And the last text message they sent their child was, I love you guys. Or, I'm sorry, the last message their child sent them was, I love you guys. And she was in a school shooting. What they do is they go through and they help school districts do reunification exercises. When you look at some of these safety events, take out school shooting or replace it with a power plant issue or lack of power. Reunification is one of the big hurdles schools face in these type of emergencies. And what they do is they train schools in how to conduct these reunifications efficiently and effectively, albeit they're going to be chaotic in those type of emergencies. So I include some information there, some resources, some links. It is $17,500 for the 2-day exercise. However, it'll be $3,500 for the Indiana Area School District because we're going to partner with 6 out of 7 Indiana County schools. and we're going to work together on this. And then the $3,500 we're going to pay, we're going to use part of our PCCD physical safety grant monies to pay for that cost. And then what's going to happen is each year the county will work together to plan and execute these exercises. Because as you know, the board on an annual basis authorizes interagency cooperation agreements. That something happened to Homer Center, they may have to use our facilities and vice versa. So we think this is a step forward again to meet the board's demands and requests about working together as a county. But it also makes sense on our end. The one thing I would have to do is have conversations with IUP. Right now, our reunification center is S&T. And if you look at that, there's one way in, one way out. That could present a lot of hurdles if I have to evacuate 3,000 students. So I'm going to go beg and plead with IUP to see if we can look at KCAC, something of that magnitude, if an emergency were to occur. We're not there yet, but before I go any further, I didn't, especially with Dr. Riggs' role, I didn't want anyone to say, hey, why is Mike Vukovic coming and asking about KCAC? I want to make sure you're aware of it, you're comfortable, aware of the cost. But again, I think I've mitigated the cost by spreading it across 6 out of the 7 county schools and using grant funds. So, and 911 would be a part of this, local police would be part of this. So this is a step in the right direction for emergency management. And I'm just finally getting to some of these things, which I should have did a couple of years ago.
Certainly anything that reduces chaos. And we're ripe for chaos. So being able to have a plan that you have a chance of executing would be phenomenal.
Yeah, this one's scary. When you talk about reunification, a lot of moving pieces. It's going to be a lot of chaos, especially if there's something at a school and kids have to flee the school. How do we get them back to their families? How do we even check in? Like, we're looking at things like even making an app or a Google form on our website that if something happens, the kids disperse and they go home, at least they can go to Google form and check in, because trying to hold everyone accountable or locate everyone is going to be a huge issue. So that's why I think this is important for the whole county to take this approach. And with your permission, I'd like to move forward.
Absolutely.
I have no problem. May I suggest that one of the ways we could, the S&T arena, I know the one entrance and one exit, that just from a emergency standpoint, that kind of frightens me a little. Maybe we could reach out to some of the homes around here so that maybe they could say, you know what, come shelter at our house for a couple of hours. We don't mind. That might be something we could look into.
And I think that's, to Ms. Blank's point, if it's a school emergency, now if it's a power's out, I think emotions be a little bit more calm. But if there's something of that severe nature, I think that's what's going to happen, right? Because I know if I was in the middle school and my mom lives across the street or my aunt lives 2 blocks down the road, I'm going there first, right? Or my friends, I'm going there. That's what I would do. So I think we have some hurdles really to work out.
I was thinking more
One way to check in.
That's what we have to find out.
So, the first thing that's going to go is the cell service.
Right.
You get 2,800 kids trying to text home.
And times that by 3, depending on how many people are going to be calling our offices. Right.
I was thinking more along the lines of whole classrooms being able to go over into a certain house.
Yeah.
Because Lord knows, if there's something going on, I'm willing to donate my entire house for kids to shelter down.
Yeah, there's a lot of work to be done. We're going to look at all options, even the local churches, whatnot. We have a lot of things to look at, but I just didn't want to move forward until you told me I can move forward. So.
Yeah. Why don't you take it to the board for the $3,500 and get that authorized next meeting?
If you're okay with it, I'm just going to put it through the grant. We'll just follow through the safety grant, and I just want to make sure.
Yeah, I'm fine with it, but do you want board action on it?
Sure, I can do that. Yes, sir. Okay.
Okay.
All right. I know we have 2 teachers. They have an important curriculum update. I don't want to keep them waiting, so we are going to jump down to number 8. Then we'll go back to number 4.
You said we were going to.
Mr. Heinrich, I'll turn it over to you, sir.
Which 2 teachers?
Thank you. They're online. Mr. Larry Nath and Mrs. Julie Steve are online with us today. And thank you for being patient. I think I sent them a text and said they'd probably go on around 6-ish, and that was silly of me, but we learn and we get better, right? So Mr. Nath and Mrs. Steve approached Wade and I about the possibility of making changes to the 12th grade English curriculum. Mm-hmm. And through the discussion, we came to find that the 12th grade ELA class is very, very heavy in British literature, and very frequently populated by students who don't have a whole lot of interest in British literature. And there's issues that they're trying to solve here. And we've entered into an era in our leadership where we're trying to make sure that the curriculum is a living, breathing document that can be updated to address certain needs. And when Mr. Nath and Mrs. Steve brought this to my attention, it made sense. What they want to do is they want to make changes to the curriculum to expand the scope. They want to make it more inclusive and interesting for all 12th grade students, rather than such a heavy focus on British literature. They want to bring in some of the popular electives that students can't schedule because they're singletons. They want to bring that content in. So they want to bring in things like technical writing. They want to bring things in like science fiction writing and those kinds of things into the normal 12th grade class, so that it's not so dry.
Hard to relate to for some of them.
Difficult to relate to for some students. Just to increase the interest level, to increase the relevance to the students in 12th grade. Because when you get to 12th grade English, you've already passed the 10th grade keystone, hopefully, or you are in some sort of remediation to pass the keystone. And when you get 12th grade British literature put on top of that, there's an engagement issue sometimes. The reduction, the inclusion of these electives is going to reduce the need for these electives, which will unfortunately probably eliminate some of these electives. However, these electives are difficult for students to schedule anyway, as we mentioned. And I'll let Larry and Julie talk about the specifics there. But I just wanted to give them a chance to explain some of the revisions that they're presenting. And with your permission, I did link it into the agenda here that you guys can look over it over the next week. And with your permission, I would put this on the board agenda for the revision to take place next year. So, Mrs. Steve and Mr. Nath, please, if you would just fill in everything that I missed.
Okay, well, I'll go ahead and go first. I'm Julie Steve. I teach English at the high school, and I worked with Mr. Nath on revising the curriculum. Our main focus was to take it from Brit Lit and to turn it into a skills-based course, so that the learning was guided by skill rather than content. And that is, I think, more appropriate for modern learners, because then they'll get very targeted, direct instruction on the skills that they need. And it also allows us to replace the literature with literature that's more grade level appropriate and interesting, for the students, a little bit more engaging. Also, we wanted to incorporate more issues that were relevant for a modern student, like a media studies and a unit, and also a STEM unit that we thought would be very important for students. We also think this is really important because it will solve some scheduling issues that have been occurring at the school, where students, the current system, they don't always get to take the elective that they want to take just because they're only offered during certain periods. So some students, actually a lot of students, end up having to take the British Lit class almost sort of by default, because that's the only thing that's available in their schedule, when maybe they would really like to have an elective. So it will create, more balance, I think. And we wanted to also let you know that it will be no cost to the district, because when we rewrote the curriculum, we made use of the texts that we already had. We just reorganized them in a way that would make them a little bit more engaging and interesting. Mr. Nath, is there anything that you wanted to add?
No, other than our initial idea was to create a course that was sort of like the best of these electives. So instead of a half year of science fiction or a half year of fantasy literature, we could combine those into a full year course and offer other things such as drama and poetry and STEM writing and media studies, which we think are important skills to enter either post-secondary education or the workplace.
So in summary, the 12th grade class that they're presenting does cover all the standards that are covered in the traditional class. They're just kind of changing up the menu a little bit, again, to make it more relevant to the students today, to make it more inclusive of all students, and to make it more focused on the skills rather than the content itself. So, with your permission, I would like to add it to the board agenda. And again, this changes would take place next school year, the 2023-24 school year.
And Mr. Nath and Mrs. Steve, I apologize for keeping you waiting. That's on me. I'm sorry. He sent me a little note saying, hey, they're waiting. So that's on me. I apologize. So sorry.
For me, I'm all for William Shakespeare and Jane Austen, but at the same time, that can be a little heavy for these kids, right? And yes, we did it when we were kids, but still, we appreciated it a lot more as we got older than we did back then.
And there still is a little Shakespeare.
Yeah.
And there's still a little bit of,
Mary
Shaw
Shelley.
and everybody else, but it's not as heavy with that is.
Yeah, those Shakespeare, they're not going anywhere. We're just more course that will include a lot more, just not so heavy on the British literature that it is now.
Yeah, I think that exploring other writers and voices is a wonderful thing.
And Mr. Heinrich, if I heard him correctly, there'll be a technical writing piece, STEM writing piece, which is advantageous for some of those kids who want to enter those fields. So I think it's a right move as well. Is that correct?
It is correct.
I understand that correctly?
Yes, sir.
What do you think?
I like it. I like it, the fact that it's more balanced and it gives more kids the opportunity to have the different experiences. If they're not able to get into those electives, that's, it's a shame that they're not getting exposed to the literature that they would like.
My concern is rigor, the learning to read hard things and learning from hard things. I'm cautious about English 12 as being English for entertainment. I know that when my kids went and competed with other kids, they were a little surprised at the lack of reading that this teacher required at the time. I briefly saw the reading list and it looked like it was short stories. I may be wrong on that, but there's no. My concern is requiring kids to buckle down. And although we did it, Tammy, okay.
Oh, did I?
Okay,
Oh, no.
And you suffered through some of this stuff, okay. The lessons of doing hard stuff well needs to happen here. And I'm hoping that the educators on this revision are doing that. And I see a hand.
If I could add, Mr. Harley, Mr. Nath is a former AP language teacher.
So he's barely qualified.
Wow.
And Mrs. Steve is currently an AP literature teacher, so they will bring a level of experience and rigor to the curriculum writing. But also, sitting here and listening to this is identified for 12th grade. This could become a template for the other grade level English classes as well.
And it appears with the document that they sent that they have them well mapped to the standards. And I think one part of it was short stories, but from what I saw from the other list, it was just one list that was short stories, but then there were others.
I missed the second list when I was looking at it tonight, so.
I'll keep going. I didn't go far enough. You only looked at the first part. They have a lot, a lot of.
Not having a lot of experience reading for knowledge and rigor, I missed that part. I just want to, and I will obviously bow to the academics in the room here. I just wanted to make sure that we don't dumb this down, that we demand excellence from these students, and they're capable of giving it.
And I see both sides of this issue. Would it pass the Cambridge approach to content and excellence? Be interesting to see. But from the NCEE, the Cambridge approach is diving very deeply into content to get the worth of the learning. So I have a master's in American literature, and I see great value in the British literature. If there's a balance between the two, then I say huzzah. But if not, then I'm concerned somewhat. So I too, even though Mr. Vukovic does not like the word rigor, I believe that there is a place for rigor. We seniors who are going out into the world and as prepared as we can. So if there's a good balance, then that's well. But content is not always easy.
All right, so we feel that the course is written so that there will be no compromise of rigor, just a wider selection of material.
Could I go ahead and add one more thought? I just wanted to say that, like, as an AP teacher, I actually relied on the College Board as a wonderful resource when I was writing this, because I wasn't really experienced with skill-based teaching, but AP did revise its English literature curriculum to have a skill-based focus. So I used their framework and their first 3 introductory units on poetry and short story and the novel as guide work for those units that we wrote. So they have the same level of rigor as the first 3 units in the AP literature course. We borrowed a lot, from there when we were making that. And also, one thing that I wanted to clarify is that what happens now with I was talking about equity in scheduling, is that if a student has not demonstrated proficiency on the Keystone exam, they have to take the full year Brit Lit course. And that can be really, really hard for these students that are struggling to demonstrate proficiency to be taking, one of the hardest courses that we offer. And so by creating this skill-based course where the literature can be interchangeable, it allows these students to have access to literature that is has been really, really hard for them. So for example, if I'm a student who did not score proficient, but then I'm forced to learn from texts like Beowulf and the Canterbury Tales, these are really, really challenging texts for a struggling reader to master. So by using the skill-based approach for those struggling students, we can offer something that is more appropriate for their reading level, but still teach them the same skills, the skills that are needed, on the Common Core, but do it in a way that will work for them and still offer, levels of challenge, I guess, is just one thing I wanted to add.
I'm okay moving ahead. I just wanted to put my 2 cents out.
Fair enough.
For what it was worth.
Okay. Mr. Howard, anything else?
No, just that I support this change. When they came to me at first, I was a little bit like, whoa. When they showed me the work that they had done, I think they've done a tremendous job at blending in, the different genres in with the British literature. And looking at the reading list as you look through there, it's still very rigorous, and I think it'll present the appropriate challenge while achieving all of their goals of being more inclusive, more relevant, and more engaging. So I support this 100%, and with your permission, I would like to move it forward to the board.
I think it's a wonderful thing. And I mean, if kids are having trouble with their English class and then you throw them in with Beowulf, sometimes they just might want to shut down. And this would, hey, you could write a sci-fi story. Well, let me explore that a little bit further. Might encourage them to continue. I mean, Lord knows I didn't expect to have a book of Shakespeare's sonnets in my house when I grew up and got married, but here we are. So give it a shot. I like it.
Any other comments? Okay.
Okay, back to number 4.
Thank you, Larry and Julie, and appreciate your patience again. Thank you.
And thank you for the tremendous amount of work that goes into redoing one of these suckers. And I, for one, appreciate having it no cost to the district.
On number 4, sir, what I'm asking for here is permission to partner up with NCEE. On Friday, David Osborne, one of our facilitators, asked me to consider being have the district consider being part of a grant opportunity they're writing with a national organization that seeks to improve and empower student voice and programmatic decision making. This is something you've been doing as a board by virtue of the student who comes to our monthly meeting, as well as their work at the NCEE, as well as the monthly student groups. And what you saw here earlier this evening, we don't know the details because we didn't write the grant yet, but before we do, I just want to talk to the board to seek permission to be a part of that and work with them on it if you would like me to continue the work we're doing in that area of student engagement and involvement.
You done?
Yes, sir.
That's it? I don't think there's any complaint about that.
Okay.
We good?
All right.
Wayne, you okay?
We are more than
Go ahead.
Okay, Mr. Heinrich has number 5. Then I think we have the junior high and high school talk about on item number 6. But Mr. Heinrich, number 5.
Yeah, each year we bring to your attention the hiring of the literacy lead teachers and the lead reading specialists. This is now in its 3rd year. When we first started to make this change to the science of reading, we really needed some leadership, and the contract allows for lead teachers. However, it's something that we had not employed in the past. By hiring these people, these certain teachers to step up and really guide the implementation of our literacy initiative, we were able to knock down a lot of barriers. They do a lot of great work advising us. We have meetings about everything from tier 1 instruction to win time, to data meetings, and now we're moving into report cards and literacy or writing this year. For those of you who are doing the NCE work, we had been talking about and believe that report cards, especially at the K-3 buildings, maybe K-5, maybe even higher than that, focused on the skills and that the students are supposed to be developed, is going to be much more informative for parents. Rather than getting a B in ELA, what does that mean, to a parent? But if we can give the parents a report that says your students are doing great here and have mastered this skill and have mastered this skill, they're still developing this skill, and here's some tools you could use to really make sure that they cement that skill. Parents can be much more informed as a partner in their child's education. So we're going to call on those lead teachers to lead that work. We're also going to call on them to lead our development of our writing program. That's the last big missing piece. We have writing built into the curriculum. However, we hear from the NCE work and from our teachers at the secondary level that writing is a piece that we need to make sure we do a better job of. So these teachers will be hired to have these meetings, write some of this curriculum, meet with these other agencies that we're partnering with, and really help us, give that teacher lens, a teacher perspective to the administrators as we work through some of these things. We can have these meetings without hiring them as these lead teachers. However, if we hire them as lead teachers, we actually get a discount on what it would cost us. What it costs us to have these teachers here is a fraction of what it would cost for us just to have 2 meetings with these teachers at the per diem rate. So it's a benefit to the district. It provides us the leadership we need, and it's in my opinion necessary to move our literacy initiative forward to the next step. So with your permission, I'd like to repost and rehire these positions for this upcoming school year.
Mr. Harley, the other thing I'll add, I know Dr. Reagan Jones is part of those meetings as well. We got a lot of teachers who want to lead, and they can lead from their role as a teacher. They don't have to be an administrator. This allows us to work together and them to do some of the lifting with us.
100%.
Because some of the tackles they're talking about are quite big, and we talked about that. So this is I'm asking respectfully for you to support this because the extra support's needed. Not only was it needed all along, but when we start talking about standards-based grading, and giving kids 10 times to write a day, meaningful opportunities to write during the day, there's a lot of curriculum changes that are going to come down the road. And as much as I think that Justin and Rob and I can do it ourselves, we're going to need them, and they have a lot of value and expertise. So we're asking you respectfully to consider, sir.
We have a very, very highly educated, very qualified, faculty here, and we need to tap into that resource. And this is one of those ways to help us tap into that.
And for those who are meeting on Thursday and Friday, motivated, they want to tackle some very big items, which I am all for. And this will help us get the work done.
This is rehiring. people.
Yeah, you've done, yes, sir.
Yeah, and the reason we're having some success is because of the leadership of these people.
Yeah, they're being teacher leaders and their role, and they're helping each other, supporting, and they're cascading now down the play and what we're trying to do, where it's not just coming from me all the time, because I just can't do that all the time. Or either can the principals, Rob or Justin. So yes.
But these people's focus is completely on literature. You have to deal with me all the time.
Well, it can grow.
At this point, yeah.
Yeah.
And we may be coming back later to talk about department chairs. We just don't know yet. But right now, our focus is on literature. It has been, continues to be, and we're going to build that up through the, through the junior high and the senior high as well.
And our experience in literature is going to help on our experience with math. Right? I don't recall the additional cost of this. It wasn't very significant.
I can't remember off the top of my head, sir. I don't know.
Exactly. It's not that significant. Like I said, it's a discount. I keep trying to click something that I can't. I mean, it's a discount on what we'd have. Just to have one meeting with 15 teachers in a room is very expensive if it goes, for very long. So outside the workday. So this actually is a significant discount.
And then you could say, well, why don't you get them during the workday? And I think we've all documented our self issues.
Okay.
Do you have
I
my
don't
phone,
think there's
Mr.
any
President?
objection to pursuing this.
Do you have my phone?
Where?
Sorry.
I don't think, no objection.
No.
Cindy, okay?
I'm good.
Yeah, this is good, we're good.
All right.
Okay.
It can happen.
All right. Next thing we have is calendar changes. So
I'm
we
sorry.
had some requests.
Is that going to be a board motion?
Yes.
Thank
Yes. What we'll have to do is get permissions, post and advertise, start that process, and then you'll have to go back and rehire them eventually. So we're going to start the process now. Okay, we have some calendar changes on there based upon our family engagement nights. They're self-explanatory. What we'd like to do is be able to bring those forward on Monday and to approve those changes. They come directly from the buildings. They were brought to Rob's, my attention, and Justin's, and we want to support them with regards to A and B. On C, we just want to clarify some things here. In the past, we had a half-day activity day in May because problems were on a Friday. It's now on Saturday. So I don't know if we need to do the half-day activity day, but we wanted to, bring it to the committee for input.
Yeah. And what we'd like to do with that last half activity day is either make it a full student day or a full activity day. The half activity day causes a lot of
Logistical
problems,
issues,
contract problems, et cetera, et cetera. So we're fine with keeping it a professional development day or making it a full student day. Whatever.
Is that for this calendar year?
That's for this calendar year.
Yes, sir.
How much trouble are we going to get into about preparation for prom if we make it?
Well, hope if it's on Saturday, none. I don't know.
Yeah, the reason we did
I'm
that.
getting my hair done on Friday.
Right. Yeah. Well,
Me too. No, I mean,
Yeah.
on a practical note, okay,
Well, we all know there's two things people hate.
Change?
The way things are. So you're going to get something. We have to be honest about that. Someone's not going to like it. But the one thing that we are constantly against is time. Finding time to either do trainings or time to just time.
Yeah, I don't think we get in any trouble by taking an activity day, but I think we're going to step on some toes, making it a full student day.
we have plenty of things to do if you want to make.
Yeah, it's up to the board.
Absolutely.
Yeah, does that make sense? I only had $2 to go to prom, so.
It gets a little hectic that day, usually.
The day before.
Well, that day mainly. And the day before is the last minute panicking at home going, did I get that appointment? Yeah, we didn't do that at our house.
I
But
think we're going to get a lot less irritated people with the full activity day.
Sure.
Than a whole student day.
And you have time to make the change. I mean, if you say, what I recommend A and B take action immediately because we have a contractual requirement to get that done, make that change, like 60-day notice. If you say, Mike, give us a little time on C, we can always do that too because we have some time. But whatever the board wants to do, we're fine with, sir.
I'm fine with it. Although I'm going to have a parent that's going to call me and go, why do they have another day off? It's like, my answer to her is always, because we don't like you.
But that's already half a day.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, I have no problem with it, actually.
Okay, we can work on it.
I recommend that you bring it to the board with a full activity day
Okay.
on that Friday and go that way. And if the board wants to consider it.
Okay. The last item we have, is number 7. Rob and I met with a local children's author by the name of Ron Madison. I've known him for years. He does a lot of work in the Johnstown area. And he made a character called Ned's Head based upon his granddaughter's inability to sleep at night. She had nightmares. He wrote a variety of books, and he's aging. He's getting older and older. He wants to have a legacy. He wants to do something with these books. He has about 2,000 books he would like to donate. We have to work through some logistics. We're not there yet. But in this day and age of, text, we want to make sure the board's exactly aware of what the books are and what they're pertaining to. And we're just trying to do whatever we can to reach out to him, to work with him on keeping the legacy of Ned's Head going, and take advantage of giving some some books to our students in need. So we don't have to make a decision tonight. We would have to make one later. We brought the books as examples for you to look at, and you can tell us what direction you want to go. Anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I met with Mr. Madison yesterday. The books are currently in Georgia, in the Atlanta area, and they would ship them back up here. He is, covering the cost of all of that. Obviously, all we have to do is agree to accept the books and the rights to work with Ned and make sure that Ned lives on. And and we have some ideas about how we can do that, both in the school and in the community. It's just like you said, a generous donation where he's trying to share this gift with future generations.
Mike,
yes, sir.
Is there? I don't know the man. I don't know anything about the books he's written. Is there anything in there that would be controversial, that would cause concern within the community?
The only book that might is the one book called Ned and the World's Religions, which actually won an award for I can't remember exactly what award it was, but Ned and the World's Religions is about a little boy at a soccer game, and the coach decides that they're going to pray, and everyone gets really nervous, and then they start to share their stories about their individual religions, and there's a Buddhist child and a Hindu child and a Christian child and a Native American child, and they share their stories about their own religious beliefs, and in the end they realize that the basic premise of all their religious beliefs are do unto others as you would have them do unto you, regardless of whether you're a Christian or a Hindu or a Buddhist.
That's all the more controversial.
That's as controversial as it gets.
And you don't have to make a decision now, but we brought example books too. But there's one on Ned in the general about a little boy whose dad, I think, is deployed overseas. He's a kind man. I know him. We've known him for years.
Yeah, let's have them reviewed. I don't see any reason that we wouldn't.
No, I need to ask the question.
No, I get
last
it. I
thing
turn
we
on the
need
TV.
is
I get it. I know.
Somebody going berserk over.
And that's why we asked for we brought copies for you to look at too, because we want to make sure you're comfortable.
And once we accept it, I don't know how many copies of which book are there, and neither does Mr. Madison, because they originally were working with a foundation in Atlanta, and now that foundation is folding, and they are, so he just doesn't want it to die there. He's looking for someone, and based on our past working, he thought we might be able to
you guys will reach out to the library.
Yes, we have
actually we already have his meeting scheduled.
Yep. And if you ever want to meet this gentleman, he loves coffee. He has some of the most amazing stories. He met the Dalai Lama. The Dalai Lama signed his book. I mean, just a kind person.
Yeah, that's great.
It sounds like something we could pursue.
Yeah, and we wanted to Mr. President's point, we wanted to see the books up front, right? So there's no, hey, you didn't tell me or you didn't explain to me this, right?
That book that Dr. Riga is holding right now is what I believe was a follow-up to Ned and the World's Religions. It's more written for young adults. So I'm not sure that one would be something that we could use, but
we have young adults.
We do.
Do we?
100%.
And honest discussion on religion is not something we should shy from either.
Absolutely not. And he does a very, very nice job of being, non-denominational. It's more about the intent of the religion rather than any, particular dogma.
What's the award of the book? International Book Awards winner. Is the Ned Words.
Yeah, if you ask him about that book, he'll be sure to bring you the signed book just to show off.
Yeah, that's the one that Dalai Lama signed. So.
Is that what he signed?
Not the actual.
He kept that one.
Yeah, he did keep that one.
And that's all we have, Mr. Harlan.
That's it?
That's it, sir.
Don't say
I'll
that's
take
it
the
like
coat.
that.
Yeah, the most difficult part of this process is probably where to store the books while we figure out what to do with them, to be honest with you. I mean, if it comes on a pallet, where are we gonna put the pallet and what are we gonna, how can we, and we're gonna have to inventory the
All
books.
logistics we can figure out.
Yeah.
Volunteer Justice Office.
Technical problem.
Sorry, couldn't resist.
But please look over the books, and if there's anything concerns you, let us know.
Over 2,000.
Yeah, there's 2,000 books
I know.
of some combination thereof, so.
Well, at least they're not really thick books, you know, they're.
No, they're
What grade level?
I was thinking.
We're not sure. That's actually one of the things we have to do is we'll have to have our reading specialists or our school sites run a Lexile level on them. Because we thought about maybe tying them into a curriculum, inviting Mr. Madison out on Read Across America Day to
How fun
come
would that be?
and read to our kids.
Thank you.
There's one of our grade levels does a poetry thing. All of his books are poems. So there might be a connection to a poetry lesson there, which might be a nice curriculum thing. And then we'll explore what we can do with the Indiana Free Library.
Does he also do the illustrations?
No, there's a local
Nanny
Nanny an artist in Nanny did all of
Nanny Glow.
Nanny yeah. Did all of the illustrations.
That's wonderful.
That's right. Thank you, Mr.
Yeah,
Jones.
that's right.
That's right, Mr. Jones.
I never dreamed that they had
Yeah.
sawmills down there and coal mines, but I never would have thought they'd have.
Surprising people come out and say.
You mean there's talent in places like Nanny Glow and Dare? Oh, who'd have thought?
Exactly.
That's all we have, sir.
We go home.
That's it.
All right.
Let's go.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Thank you. Justin, could you copy those papers and get those back?